Good morning and welcome to Monday Makes. I'm Susan Smith of Stitched by Susan, and we're going to show you some pretty quilts today. I'm bringing in this morning my friend Pris. It's the season of giving and of sharing, and Pris truly has the gift of giving. She has such a huge heart, and we've been friends for a number of years. We've collaborated on lots of projects, and she has a particular giving organization that I want her to tell you about today and a bit of her story that's behind it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in my friend, Pris Phillips. Hi, Pris. Good
Hello.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. So I wanted to talk with you today a little bit about the quilts that you make and give. And I'd love you to tell our viewers some of the story that is behind them and how this began.
Sure. Thank you. My organization is unofficially or officially called We Ones Quilts. I don't have any kind of like a business license under that name or anything, but I have an email address. That's it. But it works. And We Ones Quilts came about in 2015. I was thinking about a Bible story where Moses came to a burning bush and God was there. And God said to Moses, "What do you have in your hand?" And um, Moses had a shepherd's staff. He was there herding sheep. And that is what he ended up using to do some miracles to convince Pharaoh to let the children of Israel leave Egypt. So God said to me, Pris, what do you have in your hand? And I have fabric,
Mm-hmm.
lots and
Don't we all?
lots. Lots and lots of fabric. And I was a quilter. And so this was like in 2015 when I was thinking about this. So I I realized that I like small projects, and I had heard about um, different quilt guilds across the country that make baby quilts for their local NICU.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that's something I would like to do. And so I made a lot of inquiries. I talked to a woman who is back, I think, in Ohio about her organization and what they did. I then started inquiring at my local hospital. I tried to contact my local quilt guild. It was actually quite a process of trying to even
Mm-hmm.
find out if my local hospital even needed baby
Right.
quilts.
Right.
But like I was thinking earlier, that baby quilts are they're fun to make,
Mm-hmm.
they're fast.
Mm-hmm.
You can try a new project, like a new quilt block that you want to try, but you don't want to commit to a large project. Well, you
Right.
can certainly do, 6 or 9 of them and make a baby quilt,
Short-term
and you
commitment.
haven't. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I just thought that would be a good fit for me, and so
Mm-hmm.
I kept pursuing the idea. I even tried. I tried to contact the hospital through their volunteer department, and I got no response at all except for a canned email for me to volunteer, and that's not what I wanted to do.
Right.
So, so finally, I went on the web and I picked out a doctor who works in the NICU, and I wrote her a snail mail letter explaining who I was, what I wanted to do, and sometime later, I got an email back, and lo and behold, I had written to the head of the department.
That's so
And
cool.
this lady was a quilter. So she understood what I was saying and she caught my vision.
Mm-hmm.
And the timing was amazing because they were building a new state of the art NICU where they would be able to take some of the very sickest
Right. Highest
preemie
risk, right?
babies. Correct. The
Mm-hmm.
really, really little ones, they call them
Mm-hmm.
level 3. Babies that they would have sent to a larger hospital in Spokane, they could now um, service at our hospital here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So she we talked at length. We
Hmm.
we exchanged some emails back and forth, and she finally put me in contact with a woman named Heidi. And so I met with Heidi. This was probably December of 2015, maybe, or
Hmm.
maybe November, and they were set to open the new hospital wing. That next February of 2016. And I met with Heidi. She's the occupational therapist at the hospital. So she works very closely with the parents and the babies, and the nursing staff. And she was a really great person. And she has continued all these years to be my contact.
Hmm.
And I took some quilts with me. They were baby quilts that I had made for friends as gifts, but hadn't gifted yet, just to show her the
Hmm.
quality of my work and what I was thinking of. And she comes she comes out with this cover thing. I mean, it was so ugly. It's just a cover that goes over the isolette
Right.
to, and she thought that I would want to use that as a
A pattern.
pattern and and make those. And it's like, no, that is
Right.
not what I want to do.
Not my idea
So
of a quilt.
so I showed her some of my quilts, and she was just astonished at the quality. And I let her know that I'm really picky about quality.
Hmm.
I want really well made baby quilts.
Right.
And so anyway, she we started this partnership, and word got out. And I have three groups, one over in the Seattle area, a group at a local church here, and then a mother and daughter. The
Hmm.
mother is in her 80s, and she hand quilts all of
Right.
her baby
Yep.
quilts.
I've
And
seen them.
those three, yeah, so those three groups are my biggest suppliers of baby quilts. And then I have, other individual people, even like yourself, that have donated several quilts at different times when you have one to
Right.
donate.
Hmm.
I have also purchased quilts, large quilts, and cut them down and made baby quilts out of
And
them when I needed something fast.
usually that's a quilt top when you do that, right? An unfinished quilt. Usually.
Actually, no.
No?
Actually, no. I actually started buying completed quilts. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember, but I had a Bonnie and Camille quilt that I cut
right.
in
I
four
do remember
pieces.
now. Hmm.
And I just bound it. I stole the binding off of one of them and completed it, and then put a different binding. And I had four preemie baby quilts from that one,
That's awesome.
probably queen size quilt. And then I had another one where I got two baby quilts for little boys. It was green and black, and I don't know, it was just kind of this funky, fun kind of teal colors. And ended up with two baby quilts and four placemats for my daughter out of that quilt.
So nice. I
Um,
do remember that one.
yeah.
So as
So
we keep talking, I'll make a couple pictures go across the screen of a few of the
okay,
quilts that
sure,
Pris has done, just so you guys
sure.
can get a little bit of an idea. This one got to take a ride on the boat before it was donated, by the
Yes,
way,
it did. And
for inauguration.
that one was actually a sample that I sewed up for an IG friend, an
Right.
Instagram friend, who was testing her new pattern. And so, anyway, yeah,
So I kind of wanted to, if you have a moment more of time, I kind of wanted to talk a bit about how people could do this in their own local community. Because as I understand, you're not really trying to build an ever increasing organization that handles quilts. You're just trying to do something for your local hospital, right? So
correct.
how can other people approach that same type of project in their own local town?
I think that's a great question, and thank you for asking it. The the thing I have found is that the needs for the NICU differ from
Mm,
hospital to hospital.
depending
So
on who they're serving, right? In their location.
that is correct.
Hmm.
Different NICUs need different things.
Hmm.
The one lady, I think it was in Ohio, that I mentioned, that I had called initially, their the hospital uses the baby quilts to actually drape over the isolette to darken the space for the baby, so there's not as much bright light.
So they might have a specification for size, right? That might be
That
something that would
that
differ according to use.
That is correct.
Hmm.
My hospital ended up not needing them for that purpose,
Hmm.
but my hospital uses them as a teaching tool to emphasize the importance of tummy time. And they are
Hmm.
used as a gift to the family when the family is getting ready to be discharged.
Hmm.
And they're gifted a home, handmade quilt, and then they use it as a teaching tool, and they put it on the floor, put the
Hmm.
baby on there on their tummy, and teach the family that this is something really important that they need to do with their baby.
Hmm.
And so ours is used a little differently than other hospitals. I would recommend that you contact your local quilt guild first and see if they are
Right.
doing anything like this, and see if they are, then you partner with them.
Hmm.
If they're not, then maybe try to contact your local hospital. Start with, the volunteer department,
Hmm.
and if all else fails, write
Persevere, basically.
write write a snail mail to the head of the department, like I did.
And
So yeah,
probably, like, NICU is the place that captured your heart, right? Giving gifts to these babies and their families. But certainly, if you
right,
contact your local guilds, there are often different
right,
organizations that reach to different types of people. There might be palliative care, there might be cancer patients, right? And then lots of quilt
right,
guilds do have these sorts of contacts in place, but would love,
right.
additional quilts. So we encourage you to really look into contributing to your own community and
Hmm.
enriching the lives of
Yeah,
someone who needs a little comfort, a little special touch. So the last picture I'm going to bring up, Pris, is a delivery that you were getting ready to make to the
that is
local
correct.
hospital. This is what it looks like when Pris walks through those NICU doors with an armful.
Y- Yeah, I usually have two or three clean kitchen garbage bags filled with baby quilts, and it's pretty cool. One thing that I wanted to connect to mention, Susan, when you were talking about the different kinds of charity quilts,
Hmm.
I was thinking of our friend Carrie, who makes kind of lap size or
Hmm.
smallish lap size quilts for hospice.
Yes.
That's a place that you could, easily contact your local hospice and see
Hmm.
if they have need of quilts. And that would be probably a slightly larger size than a baby quilt, but
Hmm.
that's one area that probably would be, really glad to receive
Yeah.
anything that you would have to give them. So,
They're such a meaningful gift. And I think probably every quilter has experienced this. There is, magic is not the right word, but there is a human touch
yeah.
that is within the gift of a quilt that is not easily matched by very many other things. Maybe because they're handmade, maybe because time went into them, often prayers go into them. There's just some connection that is in the gift of a quilt that's so, so valuable. Can't be
But
overstated.
I had somebody say that when she was wrapped in a quilt, she felt like she was being hugged.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
like sending a hug.
It's real.
Yeah,
It's inexplicable, but it's real. It's there.
yeah.
Well,
So
thank you so much, Pris, for talking about your Wee Ones quilts. It has been a
you're very
pleasure.
welcome.
And Pris and I do collaborate on these. Lots and lots of them have come across my long arm, and so I get to see them before they go
Yeah.
to the little babies. So it's just such a pleasure. Such a pleasure to work on these little quilts.
Thank you, Susan.
All right, thanks, Pris. We'll talk to you again.
Okay.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed my visit with Pris, and I hope that you've been inspired to reach out and give the gift of quilts to someone in your local community. If you've enjoyed this episode, click subscribe below. And if you'd like to be notified when new episodes appear, hit the bell button. And until next week, I'm Susan. Thanks for tuning in.